Revealed, my parents' incredible decision to skip my son's funeral and demand his $850K trust. Jessica Hayes stood at the edge of the freshly dug grave, her heart pounding like a drum. It should have been a day of mourning, a day to gather and remember her son Max's brilliance. Instead, she felt an emptiness growing that threatened to swallow her whole. 8 years old and vibrant with an adventurous spirit, Max's absence left a void that echoed across every corner of her life. But what cut deeper than grief was the betrayal she never saw coming. Her own parents, the ones she had always turned to for support, had chosen greed over love. They wouldn't even show up to say goodbye. As she felt the cool breeze brush against her tear-streaked cheeks with a biting chill, Jessica's thoughts spiraled. The warmth they offered in her childhood was a far cry from today. Their focus lay solely on Max's trust fund, a staggering $850K that her son had inherited from his late grandmother. It painted a grotesque picture of avarice. Were they really so blinded by money that they could brush aside the love of a grandchild? In those quiet, haunted moments at the cemetery, the pain twisted itself into rage. The planned funeral had turned into a suffocating pit of betrayal surrounded by whispers. Friends who knew and loved Max filled the diner the next day, trying to comfort her with good memories, hot coffee, and hugs that lingered too long. The clinking of dishes mixed with quiet sobs and the smell of pancakes made an odd sort of sanctuary her haven. Local veterans, familiar faces from the diner, picked up the pieces where they could, offering stories of loss that resonated with her own heartache. Yet, as she listened to their tales of grief, anger bubbled beneath the surface. Those stories bound them together, but they also illuminated her parents' choice in a more profound way. Greed was an ugly cousin of fear of failure, fear of being forgotten, fear of losing what they had clung onto so desperately. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jessica felt a fire igniting within. It wasn't just about her son anymore, it was about standing up against the injustice and ridiculous demands of her own family. As the town gathered at the community center for a meeting, a low hum of expectation coursed through the air. Tension thickened as she approached the podium, her parents sitting stiffly in the front row, their faces bereft of remorse. As the room quieted, Jessica's voice trembled but grew louder with every word. "How could you?" she exclaimed, tears streaming down her cheeks. This was no ordinary confrontation, it was a reckoning. She laid bare the pain they had inflicted, revealing the depths of a mother's love shattered by betrayal. Suddenly, the murmurs behind her turned into an avalanche of emotions, the community witnessing the collision of family loyalty and the yearning for justice. She felt the weight of every soul writing her next words, and in that moment, something shifted in the air. Just when resolution felt almost within reach, a shocking truth hung heavily over them, a revelation that could alter everything Jessica believed about love, sacrifice, and ultimately, family ties. The anger had ignited a spark in Jessica, one that pushed her forward, away from the podium and into the crowd. She could feel their eyes on her, a mixture of sympathy and curiosity mingling in the air. Each person had come to show their support, yet they were all caught in the web of her family's betrayal. She could almost sense the tide shifting, a new energy pulsing just under the surface. As the murmurs grew softer, she took a deep breath, feeling the weight of a million unanswered questions press against her chest. It was now or never. Max was more than a trust fund. She cried, her voice echoing off the walls. He was a little boy filled with laughter and dreams. She glanced toward the front row, meeting her parents' cold glares. "And you've turned his memory into a mere dollar sign, haven't you?" The room held its breath, a palpable silence that felt nearly sacred. She could see the tension twist in her parents' rigid postures, their faces taut with discomfort. They weren't prepared for this. Jessica had always been the careful daughter, the one who put family first. But now? Now was the time to embrace her pain and transform it into a furious drive for justice. "Max would be ashamed," she said, her voice steadying. The words seemed to linger in the air, thick and heavy. He would have wanted us to stick together, not tear each other apart over money. Several people in the audience nodded, murmurs of agreement rippling like waves. She felt the support growing, building momentum that coursed through the room. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. Could she really be the voice of change for a family that had so carelessly overlooked the sanctity of love? Then, in the back of the room, a figure rose. It was Mrs. Thompson, a beloved neighbor who had once knit blankets for Max when he was a baby. Her familiar face was lined with understanding, the kind that only comes from shared sorrow. "We all loved him," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper, yet it wrapped around Jessica like a lifeline. "But what they're doing is wrong. We stand with you, Jessica." The community began to echo the sentiment, their soft voices joining together, standing in solidarity. Each "yes, we support you," or even a simple nod filled Jessica with a warmth she hadn't felt since that dreadful morning. They were not just audience members anymore, they were allies, banding together for a common cause. Empowered, Jessica continued, "We need to remember him, truly remember him, for more than just the money he left behind. We need to create a fund in his name, support children who don't have the opportunities he had. That would honor his spirit." She could almost hear the gears turning in the minds of the people around her. There it was, the subtle shift from despair to hope, a blueprint for transformation rising from their collective grief. But as Jessica glanced once more at her parents, their faces hardened into masks of disdain and betrayal, she knew this wouldn't be the end of the battle. Their silence spoke volumes, they were ready to fight back. She had opened the door to a conflict neither side was ready for, and a truth flickered just out of reach where greed thrived, love fought to survive. With her heart racing, Jessica turned back to the crowd, yearning for a sense of comfort amidst the storm of emotions swirling around her. It's time to take a stand. Just as the energy peaked, her phone buzzed insistently in her pocket, a jarring interruption. She cursed beneath her breath, an unwelcome distraction. Quickly, she pulled it out, saw the name flashing on the screen, and felt her stomach drop. It was an unexpected call from her attorney. Her heart raced as she answered, bracing herself for the news that would change everything. "Jessica, we need to talk, it's about the trust." What on earth could she face next? Jessica's heart thudded in her chest as she pressed the phone tighter to her ear, her mind racing. The attorney's voice was steady, but the urgency was unmistakable. "I can't discuss everything now, but the situation has escalated since your last visit. Your parents have made some alarming decisions regarding the trust decisions that could affect the fund you want to create in Max's name." She felt nausea whirl in her stomach. Her parents had already shown they didn't care about Max beyond the financial benefits of his trust fund. What else could they do? "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, not wanting to alert the crowd still buzzing with hope behind her. "I believe they're contesting it," her attorney replied, the words hitting her like a hammer. "They think they can dictate how Max's money should be used. They're frustrated with how you've chosen to honor him." "Of course they are," Jessica muttered. "They care more about money than his memory." "Listen, Jessica. I think it might be time to have a meeting with them," the attorney suggested delicately. "It would be wise to understand their intentions before they take irreversible steps." "Meet with them?" She scoffed at the idea. "What's the point? They've already shown where they stand." She could almost feel their cold stares again, the disdain from her mother, the silent, penetrating disappointment in her father's gaze. How could she even sit in the same room? "It's a tough situation, but you need to protect Max's legacy," the attorney urged. "Your idea for the fund is vital. Don't let their anger extinguish the hope you've ignited in that room." Taking a deep breath, she realized he was right. Her fiery speech had sparked something, but nothing would come of it if her parents fought her at every turn. "Okay. Schedule it. But I won't be backing down." "Good. I'll arrange it. But please remember, this will be about more than just money. It's about Max and what he represented." Jessica couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom. Would her parents see the importance of honoring Max's spirit over their desire for financial gain? As she ended the call, she turned back to the crowd. Their hopeful faces radiated energy, yet her heart felt heavier than before. Together, we will make sure Max's legacy lives on, she declared, firing herself up again. We will ensure no child is forgotten. No dream is unfulfilled. The applause warmed her anxieties, but doubts wrapped tighter around her heart. Would this just be a fleeting moment, overshadowed by the upcoming battle with her parents? The audience, with their encouraging cheers, began to fade into the background. Meanwhile, the weight of her family's actions loomed heavier with every passing second. Just then, out of the corner of her eye, she noticed a younger girl in the audience, clutching a stuffed animal that reminded Jessica of the one Max had cherished. Tears welled in her eyes. This was what it was all about, the other children who deserved to cherish their dreams just as Max had, but could she really fight this fight and win? Jessica's mind spun wildly. The chaos within reflected the storm outside as gray clouds began to gather ominously over the horizon. Would her parents truly stop her vision? Or could she unite their family, turning greed into growth? As the crowd buzzed around her, one question echoed in her heart. What price would she have to pay to stand up for her son's legacy? Just then, she caught a glimpse of movement at the back of the room. Someone was making their way through the crowd toward her. Who could it be? Jessica's stomach dropped once more. Was this a friend, or an unexpected foe? Jessica's breath hitched in her throat as she tried to see through the throng. The figure grew clearer, a tall silhouette against the colorful backdrop of the hall. It was her younger brother, Noah, his expression as solemn as a funeral dirge. Noah? She asked, her heart both relieved and heavy. What are you doing here? He approached with hesitant steps, looking like he was about to deliver a letter bomb. The crowd faded in her periphery, the noise muffled as she focused on him. She couldn't allow any more distractions. This moment was about her, about Max. His voice was low, tight as a wire. I just heard everything. You fought hard up there. But you need to know. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears. What? What do I need to know? He glanced around as if searching for spies, then leaned closer. Mom and Dad are serious. They're not just contesting the trust. They've got some big plans for that money. They think it should go to a better cause. Something bigger than your fund. Jessica's stomach twisted. What do they mean by better cause? The fear gripped her. Did they want to shut down her dream? Make it disappear like Max had? I overheard them talking, Noah admitted, looking torn. They want to build a scholarship fund and name it after Max, but only if it's run how they want it. They think you're too emotional to manage it. Too emotional. She could feel the anger simmering. This isn't about them. This was never about them. Noah nodded, his eyes darting nervously. And that's why they're doing this. They want you to be grateful for whatever scraps they throw your way. Scraps, she echoed quietly, the bitterness curling her lip. My parents think they can play with Max's memory like it's a game. Like it's an investment. The storm brewing outside seemed to resonate with the tempest inside her. They won't stop, Jess. If you don't meet them, it'll get ugly, Noah warned. They're very powerful in their own way. You know that. She wanted to scream. Images of childhood flickered in her mind, family dinners, laughter that now felt hollow. You've always been on their side, Noah. What do you really want? He flinched, pain crossing his face. I want you to win. I want Max's legacy to live on. I'll stand by you, but I can't go against them alone. The crowd began to murmur again, their laughter a haunting echo as Jessica's heart raced. Time felt frantic, each second a reminder of her ticking clock. Okay, she said, clenching her fists, determination flooding her. I'll meet them. I'll face them. But this is not just about the money. It's about who Max was. It's about how we remember him. Noah studied her face, the tension easing just a touch. Are you sure? This could get messy. Messy feels like a normal day with them, she replied, heart pounding with a mix of dread and resolve. But I am done letting them decide what my son's legacy should be. As his expression softened into a smiling nod, Jessica felt the suffocating grip of fear loosen just a bit. Perhaps with Noah beside her, she would find strength she didn't know she had, a way to turn this fight around. But then a familiar voice boomed from the back, catching her completely off guard, and her blood ran cold. Jessica. I knew you'd be here. It was her mother, marching like she owned the place, with her father looming ever close behind. Tension tightened in her throat. The confrontation she dreaded was now unavoidable. Would this meeting reveal truths that could shatter her defenses? Or would this be the moment she solidified Max's legacy, no matter the cost? Jessica's heart crashed against her ribcage as her mother's voice pierced through the crowd. She had always been able to spot that tone. It was the one that rushed in like a cyclone, filled with authority and an unshakable certainty that left no room for debate. Mom, she said, her voice trembling slightly. You shouldn't be here. Not now. Oh, please. We need to talk. Her mother's eyes were sharp, glinting like broken glass, and she gestured dismissively toward the colorful decorations as if they were distractions. This isn't the place for your theatrics. Noah stepped closer, a protective stance materializing as he faced their parents. You both shouldn't have come here. Jess was working to honor Max. You know that. Their father shifted, crossing his arms, his towering shadow looming over them. We came to support you, Jessica. Don't twist this into something ugly. What happened to Max was a tragedy, but he would want us to do something meaningful. Jessica felt a wave of anger rise within her. Meaningful? You mean capitalizing on his death? You want control over his memory because it makes you look good? No. We want to ensure he's remembered for the right reasons. Her mother shot back, her voice rising defensively. You're too caught up in your emotions to see the bigger picture. This isn't just about you. What bigger picture? Jessica spat, her palms starting to sweat. This isn't a canvas for your family legacy. Max deserves to be remembered through the things he loved and the dreams he had, not as a trophy in your collection of achievements. The crowd around them had begun to notice the sharp exchange, whispers stirring like leaves in a breeze. It felt like the walls were closing in, their breath heavy with anticipation. Noah attempted to interject, Jessica is right. He was her son, Mom. Not a prop for your philanthropy plan. Mom, Dad. Jessica's voice cracked against the noise gathering around them. This is my opportunity to keep Max's spirit alive. Why can't you understand that? Because it's not just about you. Her mother's expression softened briefly, only to harden again. We do what we do for family. Family? Jessica echoed, incredulity flooding her tone. Family doesn't abandon each other in the worst of times, only to show up and demand control when it benefits them. The tension tightened like a vice. Jessica could feel her breath quickening, the emotional weight threatening to suffocate her. But deep down, a quiet fire began to stir, and she held onto it tightly as she met her mother's fiery gaze. Just as her mother opened her mouth to respond, a piercing ring interrupted the moment, slicing through the thick tension in the air. Her phone vibrated wildly in her pocket, the sound cutting a sharp line through the encroaching chaos. Ignoring it initially, she took a deep breath to collect herself, unwilling to show any sign of weakness in front of her parents. But the vibration continued, intensifying like a warning bell. With her heart racing again, she gave in and pulled her phone free, glancing at the screen before the blood drained from her face. It was a message from a number she didn't recognize, but the words were crystal clear. We know what you're planning. Don't make us expose the truth. Jessica's pulse quickened, a mixture of dread and anxiety settling heavily in her chest. The world around her spun, her parents momentarily forgotten as panic gripped her. Who sent this? What truth? Noah looked over her shoulder, concern creeping into his features. Jess? What's wrong? Her heart thudded heavily as she stepped back, the walls closing in on her again. Could this really get any worse? What did this stranger know that could unravel everything? And just like that, the confrontation with her parents, the fight for control over Max's legacy, suddenly seemed small in comparison to this new threat looming over her head. The message lingered in the air like a dark shadow. What did it mean? And how far would her parents go to claim their version of Max's memory? Jessica's mind raced as she reeled from the message. The world around her blurred, colors faded, voices drowned out. All that remained was the chilling weight of those words hanging in the air like a fog she couldn't escape. Jess. Noah's voice cut through the haze. He touched her arm, grounding her for a fleeting moment. Focus on me. What does it say? She blinked rapidly, trying to piece her thoughts together. It's a message, she stammered, shakily holding her phone. Someone knows what I'm planning. They're threatening to expose something. What? Noah's brow furrowed with concern. What could they possibly know? Jessica shook her head, desperately scanning the crowd, hoping to find anyone with answers. I don't know. But I can't have this getting out. Not now. We can figure this out together. Don't panic, he said, his voice steady. But inside, she felt her heart racing, drowning in a mixture of fear and anger. Her parents watched with an unsettling calm, their arms still crossed, as if this was just another family squabble. But it wasn't just that. This was life or death. This was Max. What did you say? Her mother asked, her voice laden with suspicion. What planning is this? What are you hiding? Jessica swallowed hard. It doesn't matter. What matters is that someone is threatening me. You'd think you'd be more concerned about that. Her mother's expression shifted. For once, a flicker of uncertainty passed over her features. What do you mean? Maybe if you weren't so busy playing family politics, you'd see what's really going on. Jessica snapped, her frustration boiling over. With her heart pounding in her ears, she couldn't help but wonder if they might even know something about the trust, the money that Max had left behind. As anger and fear coursed through her, she took a step back, her chest tightening as realization hit. It wasn't just the message she had to worry about. If her parents were here to take control of Max's legacy, they might be using this as leverage to manipulate her. They'd always played the power game so well. Jessica, her father said, breaking through her furious thoughts. We can help you. Just tell us what's going on, and we'll figure this out as a family. No. This is my plan, my chance to honor Max as he deserves. I don't want your help, I want you to leave. She snapped back, the words bursting from her in a flood of pent-up emotion. The crowd had grown silent, the whispers now replaced with a stillness that crept over them all. Eyes were fixed on her, watching the standoff, each breath drawn tight with anticipation, and then, slowly, she turned her attention back to the phone in her hand. What did she really know? A soft yet urgent ring echoed in her mind. What truth could be hidden just beneath the surface? Jess? Noah asked softly, we have to talk to someone who can help us. Find out who sent that message. Her fingers trembled as she typed a response to the anonymous number, her heart racing. But just before she hit send, a sensation washed over her, something profound tinged with anxiety and urgency surged within. What if she was risking it all by engaging with an unknown threat? Taking a deep breath, she finally hit send. The moment her phone buzzed with a reply, all the air rushed out of her lungs. You shouldn't have done that. A chill coursed through her body as she looked at Noah, more terrified now than she had ever been. The crowd swirled around them, a murmur of uncertainty, but all she could hear was the pounding of her heart. Once again, she felt the walls closing in. There was no telling what was coming next, but one thing was for sure: she could no longer run from her past, or the truth that threatened to break free, and as that reality dawned on her, she finally understood. Maybe this battle with her parents wasn't the only fight she'd have to face. Was everything she had built for Max in danger? The air crackled with tension, shaking her to her core as she realized she was standing on the edge of something monumental. What would she uncover, and were her parents somehow connected to this new threat? Jessica's future, much like the looming shadow of her son's memory, hung in an unsettling balance. Jessica felt the world tilt beneath her feet. The atmosphere was thick, charged with an energy that made her skin tingle and her pulse quicken. She had opened a door, and now she could feel the air rushing in, full of consequences. What had she done? Jess, please. Noah's voice was low, filled with concern. We need to think this through. It could be dangerous. His eyes darted around, searching the crowd for any hint of who might be watching them. What do I care about danger at this point? She snapped back, the words spilling out fueled by her bubbling anxiety. Someone knows my plans. If my parents have anything to do with this, I need to know now. Noah shook his head, his uncertainty heavy in the air. Whatever this is, we can handle it together. But don't let fear push you into a corner. As Jessica turned her focus back to her phone, her thumb hovered over the screen. The message blinked back at her, the words a reminder of her vulnerability. She needed to feel in control, but the notion of allowing herself to be manipulated felt like a noose tightening around her neck. Jessica, her mother's voice broke through again, sharper, more insistent. We can help you. Whatever you're dealing with, you don't have to do this alone. Help? Jessica laughed bitterly, her anger igniting again. This whole time, you've been more interested in the trust than in me. And now you want to swoop in and help after all this? I can't trust you. A murmur rippled through the crowd, people leaning closer, hungry for any scrap of drama. But to Jessica, they were just spectators. She needed to focus. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to skip Max's funeral. Jessica's voice shot through the growing tension, the accusation leaving her lips like a physical blow. For a moment, silence enveloped them, people glancing between her and her parents. Horrified, Jessica felt the air shift, the rush of emotions taking a new turn. Their expressions were a mix of disbelief and anger, and she braced herself for their reaction. Do you really think this is about the money? Her father finally said, his voice dangerously calm. Max was our grandson too. But you didn't act like it, Jessica shot back, feeling a rush of courage mixed with her fear. You were too busy with your plans to even show up for him when it mattered. Tears stung her eyes, and as she fought them back, she realized she was about to break. Yet, deep inside, an ember of determination flickered. She was fighting not just for Max's memory, but for herself. Before she could lash out again, her phone buzzed. Her heart stopped. Was it another threat, or possibly a lifeline? Don't read it, Noah urged softly, but she couldn't help herself. The screen lit up. I know how to keep them off your back. Meet me at the old cafe. Her heartbeat quickened, a mix of anxiety and a desperate glimmer of hope. Who was this person? Did they have answers? Could she trust them? Jess, please, Noah pleaded, his eyes wide. You don't know who this is. I need to find out, she insisted, the weight of her decision bearing down on her. The tension cracked, and she could feel her parents' gazes intensify, the crowd closing in around them. They could sense her resolve, and that frightened her more than any threat ever could. As she pushed her way through the throng, she realized there would be no turning back now. Not just with her plans to honor Max, but with the truth that lay ahead. Who was watching her? Who was pulling the strings behind this shadowy threat? Jessica took a breath, her mind set. She needed to know. And she was done hiding. The cafe loomed ahead, its old neon sign flickering softly in the darkness. What lay inside would change everything. Would it be a lifeline or another dangerous game she was stepping into? As she reached for the door, doubt hung in the air, and for the first time, she wondered if she was truly ready for what was to come. Would she find the answers, or would a new chapter of manipulation begin? The door creaked open as Jessica stepped into the dimly lit cafe. The familiar smell of old coffee and pastries flooded her senses, a swirl of nostalgia mixed with an overwhelming tension. She glanced around, her heart racing. It felt like a scene from a movie, where every shadow could hide a secret. Noah stayed outside, leaning against the wall, his face a mask of concern. I'll wait for you, he called quietly, though she could see the uncertainty in his eyes. She nodded, forcing a smile, although she didn't even know if she could go through with this. Inside, a few patrons occupied booths, their conversations a low hum that filled the gaps of silence between Jessica's racing thoughts. She spotted a figure sitting alone at the back, a woman, mid-30s with dark hair pulled into a messy bun and sharp eyes. Jessica didn't recognize her, but she instinctively felt drawn to her. There was an air of urgency around her that made the hairs on Jessica's arms stand on end. "Jessica," the woman said, her voice smooth and steady as Jessica approached. "I'm glad you came. Who are you? How do you know me?" Jessica's words spilled out, her defenses raised high. The woman chuckled softly, a sound that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Let's just say I have an interest in your family's affairs and I've been watching you for a while now." Jessica's stomach nodded. "Why? What do you want from me?" "It's not what I want, but rather what I know. You deserve answers, and I can help you find them." The woman leaned forward, earnestness punctuating her expression. "You were right about your parents. They're hiding something, and it goes deeper than the trust." An electrical current jolted through Jessica at the mention of her parents. "What do you mean? What could possibly be more important than that?" "Max's death wasn't just a tragic accident," the woman replied, her tone grave. "There's more to it, connections, people and places you wouldn't imagine. They skipped the funeral for a reason, Jess." Jessica felt the ground under her shift once more. The fury she'd carefully cultivated was now under siege by a creeping dread. "You're lying. They wouldn't do that. They loved him." The woman's gaze didn't waver. "Did they? Or was it simply a facade? You need to think about what your grandparents value most." A flash of doubt crept into Jessica's mind. She had always been taught to see her grandparents as pillars of morality. Yet, here was this stranger, unraveling her foundations. "What do you know about my family?" "Enough to know they have bigger plans, ones that don't involve you or the truth of what happened to Max. I've seen the meetings, the discussions, and trust me, it's not about love or loss, Jessica. It's all business." Jessica's world felt like it was crumbling, piece by piece. The cafe's atmosphere suddenly seemed thicker, suffocating. She gripped the edge of the table. "Is this what they wanted? For me to feel so lost and confused?" "Everything will be clearer soon, but you have to trust me," the woman urged. "You have the power to expose them. I can guide you, but it's up to you to take the leap." Jessica's mind was racing. Could she really unveil the truth? Her heart ached at the prospect of confronting her parents, of digging deeper into the web they had spun. Questions blurred together. Was this woman on her side or simply another player in the game? As she hesitated, the weight of her decision loomed large. Trusting this stranger might lead her down a path she couldn't foresee, filled with risks she hadn't anticipated. A whisper of resolve flickered in her chest. "What do I need to do?" The woman smiled, an unreadable expression that made Jessica's skin prickle. "Meet me tomorrow. We'll unravel this together, but the truth, it won't be pretty." Jessica stepped back, her breath catching in her throat. This was her chance to expose the shadows lurking in her family's life. All too much to ponder all at once. As she turned to leave, one last thought lingered. Was she prepared for the fallout that would inevitably follow? And what if the answer was darker than she imagined? The door swung shut behind her, closing off the world of escalating uncertainty and drawing her back into the night, where everything felt different now. Determination surged within her, but so did fear, ready to clash in her mind. Tomorrow would reveal everything or nothing at all. Would she face the darkness of her family's truth? Jessica stepped outside, the cool night air hitting her like a shockwave. Noah shifted, worry etched on his face. "What did she say?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know how to explain it." Her heart thundered as she recounted the conversation. With every word, she delved deeper into the weight of what had been unveiled, fears escalating with each revelation. Noah's eyes widened. "They skipped his funeral? That doesn't make sense." Why would they do that? What's their motive? I don't know, she replied, frustration bubbling up inside her. But this woman, she claims to have been watching my family for a while. She says there's more to my parents than I ever imagined. Are you going to trust her? She could be lying. His concern was palpable, a mixture of protectiveness and disbelief swimming in his gaze. Jessica looked away, the weight of the woman's words pressing heavily on her. But what if she's right? What if this is the key to understanding everything? I can't just ignore it. Noah sighed, running a hand through his hair. The streetlights cast a soft, warm glow around them, but Jessica felt only coldness. And what do you think they're hiding? They love you, right? Do they? That's what I always thought. The words left her lips like a bitter aftertaste. But if they loved me, why would they leave so much in the dark? Why would they let me believe their version of the truth? Silence hung between them as they continued to walk. Jessica's mind raced with possibilities, each one more horrifying than the last. Would she be seen as some black sheep? Or worse, an enemy? As they wandered past the flickering lights of the cafe and into the night, her thoughts turned dark. I want to know the truth, Noah. No matter how painful. He stopped, now facing her. I just don't want you to get hurt. Not after everything you've been through. His eyes were soft but serious, filled with a depth of concern only someone close could understand. I can't live with unanswered questions. It's tearing me apart, she said, her voice trembling. I need to confront them. Whether they like it or not. Noah nodded, though uncertainty clung to him. Okay. But I'm going to be right there with you. You're not facing them alone. We'll figure this out together. As they walked in silence, the reality of what lay ahead settled upon her more heavily than the night. Meeting the stranger again tomorrow felt like crossing a threshold into the unknown. The very thought of it sent chills down her spine. Do you think they have a plan against me? Something that would keep me quiet? She mused aloud, her head spinning with worst-case scenarios. Noah paused again, brow furrowed. I don't think they go that far. But families can be complicated, Jess. Emotions might cloud their judgment. Or conceal truths, she added, the weight of her words echoing in the quiet street. They arrived back at her home, the house looming dark and silent. Here was where she had grown up, a fortress of memories and love, or perhaps something more sinister. With a deep breath, Jessica turned to Noah, desperate yet determined. No matter what happens tomorrow, promise me something. What is it? He asked, searching her face. If it all goes downhill, if the truth gets too ugly, promise to stick by my side. No matter what they throw at me. I promise, he said earnestly, taking her hands into his. The warmth of the gesture gave her strength, but the fear still bubbled beneath the surface. Jessica took one last look at the house, then stepped inside, knowing tomorrow she would delve into the unknown, into a truth she both dreaded and craved. As the door clicked shut, shadows seemed to stretch longer in the hallway, foreshadowing the confrontation yet to come. What would the morning bring? Would she be ready to face her family's darkest secrets? With each heartbeat, she questioned if the strength of revelation was worth the risk. The sun crested the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over Jessica's home, yet inside, an icy dread clung to her. Today was the day. The day she confronted her family's secrets and demanded to unravel the lies that had been woven tighter than ever before. As she sipped her coffee, each sip tasted like a countdown to the inevitable clash. Noah's presence offered her a sense of calm, and they shared a quiet moment, exchanging uncertain glances while preparing for the storm ahead. You ready? He asked, his voice steady but laced with concern. As ready as I'll ever be, she replied, determination flooding her voice. But inside, her heart raced relentlessly, as if echoing a warning. When they arrived at her parents' house, the familiar surroundings felt stifling, almost foreign. Memories of family gatherings rushed back, but today, they came tainted with betrayal. Jessica took a deep breath, willing herself to take that step forward into conflict. She had to reclaim Max's memory and ensure his legacy would mean more than a mere trust fund. her parents awaited her inside a perfectly polished facade masking the greed that lay beneath. Sensing the tension in the air, she pushed the door open, panic and determination waging a silent war in her chest. "Jessica," her mother greeted, voice dripping with feigned warmth. "We didn't think you'd actually come." "I'm here to talk about Max, not you," Jessica replied, her voice firm. "Of course, dear," her father chimed in, eager to redirect the focus. "I think we should discuss what's best for the family going forward. We've got some exciting ideas for a scholarship honoring him." "That's not happening." Jessica shot back, her heart thundering in her chest. "Not if it means using his death as a PR stunt. You didn't even show up at his funeral." Her mother's composure faltered. "This isn't the time for emotion, Jessica. Max deserves to be remembered properly. What's wrong with wanting to make something good from this tragedy? It was never about good or bad. It's about love, about family. Something you've lost sight of." Jessica's voice trembled, but her resolve held firm, the warmth of her friends and community cheering her on like a powerful force behind her. Just then, her phone buzzed, a reminder of yesterday's revelation. The message. The woman at the cafe. The truth that lingered in the shadows. She clenched it tightly, channeling her anxiety into the fight she needed to win. "I know about your plans, or at least, I think I do." An uncomfortable silence stretched, the kind that pulled tightly between them, thick with danger. "What do you mean?" her father asked, his voice cold, eyes sharp. "I received a message about Max's death." Her voice wobbled but steadied, pushing through the quaking fear. "There's more to what happened than you're telling me. Someone else knows it too. Are you sure this isn't just grief talking?" Her mother spat back defensively. "Do you really think I'd come here if it didn't matter? Because I'm tired of your lies and manipulation. I deserve the truth. Max deserves to be remembered as the boy he was. Not as a pawn in your financial games." Jessica's breath hitched, raw emotions spilling out like a floodgate unleashed. "I loved him too," her mother yelled back, stepping forward, fury mixed with desperation. "You don't own grief, Jessica. Max is family. And he wasn't family to you when it mattered." Jessica bristled, feeling the weight of her emotions becoming a shield against their accusations. "Your concern is for appearances, not love." The tension surged, breaking finally as Noah stepped in. "We're not here to argue. We're here to make sure Max's memory isn't twisted. This is about more than money." Jessica turned to Noah, surprised at his support. It fueled her fire, and she stepped closer to her parents, eyes blazing. "You think this is about money? This is about keeping his spirit alive. About who he was, not what he left behind." A flicker of something passed between her parents, perhaps guilt, or fear. It was fleeting, but something inside Jessica shifted. They were cornered. "Let's get all the cards on the table," she continued, her voice dropping, but still laced with conviction. "You say you love him, then prove it. Show me that you're willing to put Max's legacy first. We'll create a fund together and truly honor him together, as a family. Or you can keep fighting me, and perhaps lose everything." The silence echoed like the stillness before a storm. "You think it's that simple?" her father replied, brow furrowing. Jessica could sense the cracks in their resolve. "Yes," she pressed. "Because one way or another, I will fight to keep his memory alive. And if that means going public with everything I've learned, then so be it." Apprehension flooded the room, and a look passed between her parents, one of uncertainty and fading bravado. "Very well," her mother relented, though there was no warmth in her acceptance. "If you want this fund, we'll do it your way. But it has to be an agreement. This is about protecting our family's reputation, Jessica." A fierce sense of triumph washed over Jessica. "You can pretend all you want, but I'll make sure this is about Max. Want to help? Prove it." As tension simmered into hesitant agreement, an exhausting weight lifted. Jessica knew, however, this was just the beginning. The truth lingered in the shadows, and she would need to expose it before it devoured her family whole. Her resolve coursed through her as she faced her parents. She stepped into the future with newfound courage. Together, they left the past behind, but she would follow the trail that led to understanding, to healing, to honoring Max. The journey was just beginning, and now, she stood armed with truth, and she wouldn't stop fighting. As the door closed behind her, Jessica caught Noah's eye. They shared a quiet, knowing smile, two warriors ready for whatever lay ahead. This was only the beginning. Now, let's change gears. If you loved this emotional journey and want to follow along as new stories unfold, you need to subscribe immediately to this channel. Don't miss out on exclusive content that could inspire and motivate you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every like truly makes a difference. Comment below with your feelings about this ending, your thoughts on the transformation, or whatever hit home for you, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and find hope in the struggles of life. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.